Have you ever had a smoke detector just go off on its own in the middle of the night? There's no smoke, there's no fire, there's nothing going on, and you couldn't figure out why. And you're standing there in the dark, waving a towel at the ceiling, with the smoke detector thinking, what is happening right now? Now, that's exactly what it feels like to wake up with a migraine on a morning when nothing went wrong. You slept, you didn't eat chocolate, you weren't stressed, and yet here we are. Now, last week I introduced you to the amygdala, your brain's built-in smoke detector. And today I want to show you why, for so many women, that alarm won't stop going off. So if you missed last week's episode, go back and listen. This series, it's going to build on itself. But the short version is this. Your amygdala is your nervous system's alarm system. And when it's been triggered by chronic inflammation, pain, hormonal shifts, that have been going on long enough, it recalibrates to fire at a much lower threshold. Today, we are talking about what causes that recalibration and why, for women in perimenopause and postmenopausal, it's almost always several things happening at once. I call this the inflammation overload loop, and I want to kind of walk you through what that looks like so you have a better understanding of what's happening in your body. Because your body, it's dealing with some level of chronic inflammation, maybe from food sensitivities, gut permeability, toxic burden, or maybe even hormonal dysregulation. And that inflammation sends a low-grade threat signal to your amygdala. And the amygdala responds by activating your stress system, which produces more cortisol, which increases inflammation. And then the loop continues. Now, over time, your nervous system, it really learns this pattern. It stops waiting for this big trigger. It stays primed. It is ready to fire at the smallest provocation because that's what survival requires when you've been living in a state of chronic threat. This is not a character flaw. This is not anxiety. This is actually your body doing exactly what it was designed to do in a situation that it was never designed to sustain. And then you add perimenopause to the picture. Estrogen is actually neuroprotective. It helps regulate the amygdala's reactivity. It supports serotonin production. It modulates pain sensitivity in the trigeminal system. So when estrogen starts fluctuating wildly, which is exactly what happens in perimenopause, sometimes years before your period even stops, the amygdala loses one of its primary regulators. The threshold drops even further, and the alarm becomes even more sensitive. This is why so many women find that their migraines get significantly worse in their 40s. It's not bad luck, it's biology that nobody ever explained to you. Now, I want to tell you about Jenny because I think this is going to really help you understand. Jenny came to me after, gosh, it was over a decade of migraines that progressively gotten worse in her late 40s. She'd been to the neurologist, her primary care physician, and she tried all of the preventive medications that they offered. She did the elimination diets, she tracked all the triggers, and she still had migraines multiple times a week. But what nobody had ever told Jenny was that her nervous system had been in a state of chronic activation for years. The inflammation load in her body, combined with the hormonal shift she was experiencing, had pushed her amygdala into a hair trigger state. She wasn't having migraines because of her triggers. She was having migraines because her threshold was so low that almost anything could push her over. And when we started addressing the root drivers, the inflammation, the hormonal imbalance, the gut dysfunction, the frequency actually began to drop. Not because we found the magic trigger, but because we finally gave her nervous system a reason to stand down. So here's what I need you to understand about a smoke detector that won't stop going off. It doesn't get better on its own. Left unaddressed, the nervous system continues to learn the pattern. The threshold continues to drop. And what started as occasional migraines now become frequent. What was frequent becomes daily. And at some point, the gap between the life you're living and the life that you want to live gets so wide that it starts affecting everything: your work, your relationships, your identity. I mean, I've talked to women who have turned down promotions because they couldn't trust their body on an important day. Women who do not make plans anymore because they've been let down by their own head too many times. Women who have quietly stopped dreaming about the future because it feels too risky. That is the cost of a smoke detector that never gets recalibrated. And it's real. Migraine Awareness Month exists because this condition is still massively underestimated. 1 in 7 people globally, the majority of them women. 1 in 4 are women. And the standard of care still doesn't address what we're talking about right now. Being aware means knowing this, sharing this, demanding better for yourself. Next week is the episode that I most want you to hear, because after 2 weeks of understanding what's happening and, the why, we're going to talk about what actually works. What moves the needle on a nervous system that's been stuck in alarm mode. And I'll tell you up front, it's not another medication. It's not another elimination diet. It's something most women have never been offered. So before next week, go into the show notes, take the quiz I have in there, the Migraine Sensitivity Scorecard quiz. The link's right there for you, and it will start showing you where your own inflammation overload loop is breaking down. And that's going to make the next episode really resonate for you so much more. All right, see you then, everybody.